Alright, ladies and gentlemen, so the next thing we're going to do is we're going to be painting in our ground. So I want to talk to you really quickly about what season your image is going to be in. If I look at this upper picture right here, I see a lot of reds and yellows. So what season could that be? It could be fall, yeah, because the leaves are starting to turn color. Very nice. And so this season with a little bit of yellow, but mostly just a tiny bit of green, could really be spring. So you need to think about what colors the grass is going to be or the ground is going to be in your picture. This picture down here could also be spring or it could start to be summertime. And down here this could be fall because it has a lot of reds. So in your image you need to figure out what season it is and what your ground is going to look like. So for my picture I'm going to do the winter time. So I'm going to have white, gray, and browns in my background. So remember, the hill or the ground line that's in the back has to be darker. So if I look at this image again, this is darker, and this is darker back here. And if you just have one ground line, that's totally fine. Okay, so I'm going to start with just a little bit of brown paint. And I'm going to paint that in here. And again, I'm using my big brush, and I'm actually going to overlap that sky a little bit because I don't want there to be any transition or any of the gray paper showing through. And it's okay if I go over my other ground line with my brown paint. Great. So I'm making sure I went over my sky just a little bit to really make sure I have everything painted in the way I want it. Then I'm going to wash out my paintbrush. I'm going to wipe off the extra. So I'm doing right now. And then I'm going to dab off the extra water. Alright, and so now I'm going to use my gray paint instead of just white. Alright, so, okay. I'm going to go directly on top of that color because, well, it's still wet. And now I'm going to get really close to that ground line. Really close. There we go. And I'm actually going to go back over that brown. And almost start to mix those two colors together. Because my brown was still a little bit wet, I was able to mix the colors. And that's something you should be aware of. If your colors are still wet and you don't want the colors to mix like mine just did, make sure they're dry before you paint on top of them. Okay, so that's my darker color. So now before I go to my white to put in the front, I want to talk to you guys about details. So your ground doesn't just have to be grass. There could maybe be a road in it. Maybe I'm going to draw a road that's coming out from there. Or maybe there's a little path, or maybe a sidewalk. So maybe there's a sidewalk right here. So think about what your seasonal landscape looks like. Maybe there's a sidewalk right there. Again, if you're drawing anything, make sure you're drawing it in chalk. Make sure whenever you're painting over your chalk that you're painting over it with your paintbrush. Okay, so now I'm going to start using a little bit smaller brush to get some more details in here. Alright, so I'm going to take my white paint, and I always want to paint what's further away first, so I painted that darker mountain first, that darker hill, and painted my sky before then, because my sky is farther away. So I'm going to start just outline and fill in. And again, I'm making sure I go over my chalk lines. It's really important to go over your chalk lines. Alright, so when we come back, you guys should have your entire sky painted, your ground all painted in, and none of your gray paper should be showing through. You can't do any details or get any smaller brush until your whole paper is covered in paint. Alright guys, if you have any other questions, let me know, but this is what we're doing right now. Your sky should be painted, and your background and your ground you should be working on. Again, think about the color of your landscape. Is it winter? So is it whites and browns and blacks? Is it springtime? Is it red? Or is it springtime? Is it yellow and green? Is it summer? Is it a lot of green? Is it fall? Is it yellow and red and a tiny bit of green? Okay guys, any other questions, let me know.